Welcome to episode 532 of the Autoblog podcast. I'm Greg Migliori. Joining me today is Reese Counts. Welcome, Reese.
How's it going?
It's going well. If you're watching at home or at your desk at work, you might notice we're in some swanky new digs here. These are temporary studios for Autoblog. We're actually in temporary offices. You probably don't care that much, but I think this looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it's nice. The nice couch. It's a little more relaxed than what we've.
A little mid-century modern. It's
little
like
more space.
Yeah, we're at the start of Mad Men, the opening credits. This is cool. So we hope you like this. But more than our temporary offices, what you care about is the cars. And this week, right now, SEMA is going on in Las Vegas. Really big car show out there. It's all the great aftermarket stuff, custom stuff. Really cool stuff, and we're going to throw it right now to Associate Editor Joel Stocksdale, who is in Las Vegas. Joel, take it away.
Hey guys, it's Joel Stocksdale here for Autoblog. I'm in sunny Las Vegas, Nevada, and I'm here at the 2017 SEMA show. I'm here just covering all the crazy stuff that's here. There's cars everywhere. Right now outside the convention center, there's vehicles all around. It's tuners, it's classics, it's luxury cars. And this is just the outside part. This is just the tip of the iceberg. And it's huge out here. There's even a big parking lot where they're doing drifting and things. It's a wild and amazing show. And we're going to be covering as much of it as we can. We've already seen some really cool stuff. We've seen an off-road Colorado that was developed with AEV. We've talked with Ken Block. We've got a lot of other cool things that we're going to check out, and just keep up with it on Twitter and on our homepage, and hope you can catch as much of it from us as possible. Now, if you don't mind, I've got other things I've got to check out, so I'm going to turn it back to you guys.
Thanks, Joel. Lots of cool stuff out there in Vegas, and that is what's going to lead our news segment today, Reese. Spotlight reveal of sorts. It was more of a teaser last night. The 2018 Jeep Wrangler. Some pictures, teasers, and some parts were shown out there at the Fiat Chrysler press conference in Vegas. And yeah, this is our first look at the new Jeep Wrangler. What do we think? What do you think?
So I think it's funny that this is arguably the biggest reveal of the show, and we didn't actually see the vehicle.
Absolutely.
We should see it a few weeks in Los Angeles, so it's not that far off. But it's great. It's really no surprise. We've seen the spy shots. We've had some really great renders. We've kind of known what this thing's going to look like for months now. But it's here. It's after, what, a decade of the current model. We're getting a new, presumably lighter, more efficient, better off-road, more capable Wrangler. I think it looks pretty awesome, especially that two-door Rubicon without all the red one without all the panels and everything.
Yeah.
It looks pretty sweet.
I'm excited. I like to your point, Reese, this is literally the worst kept secret in Detroit. I mean, it's to the point where I see one of these on the road. We've seen them so often that you don't even rip out your phone anymore. You're like, oh, yeah, it's a new Wrangler. There it is. You know, they're everywhere, even if they're camoed up. But I think they delivered. It looks exactly like we would expect, which I think is exactly what they should do. That was the right tactic here. A little bit of changes to the headlights. I think there's a little bit of like a chiseled belt line on the side that is more pronounced than really any line I think you would notice on the current Wrangler. It's a good looking vehicle. I think they're still trying to go for that, market of rugged off-road enthusiast. Obviously, I think they're going to succeed there. We're expecting a 4-cylinder V6, automatic and manual transmissions. It's, I think they're actually doing the right thing too by playing it safe with the Wrangler. You don't really want to go something that's too crazy, too drastic for such an iconic vehicle. And I was excited to see these pictures last night. This is the kind of thing that it's what's fun about auto shows. I didn't expect this at SEMA.
Yeah, this was kind of a last-minute thing. We kind of got a tip ahead of time to be prepared, but yeah, like it's. Few vehicles inspire as much like fervor and fandom as the Wrangler, and like it's really easy to anger the enthusiasts, and so you don't want to change too much. So like every Wrangler before it, it's really just an evolution of what we've seen before. it was never going to look like anything else but a Wrangler. So it's still got the grille. There's the cant kind of at the top where it's canted backwards a little, which is cool. It's updated with LED lighting, but really it's just the same thing we've known and loved. I mean, there was rumors for a couple of years ago. I remember there's possibility of independent front suspension, which was
right, all aluminum body, stuff like that.
yeah.
It was,
which it could still have. Like, we don't know any of the details, but
it's true.
I kind of doubt it.
I'm excited. So here's a quick question, impromptu. Would you buy the old current generation Wrangler now, maybe get a good discount on it? Maybe not, because this vehicle is always in demand. Or would you wait for, I don't know, 3 months for the new one? What would you do?
I would wait for the new one to come out and then go find a current two-door Rubicon.
Good answer. Good answer.
That's
okay.
what I would do.
Yeah, I think I would probably get the new one. I'm excited about this. It looks really good, and I think they capture the essence of the vehicle, but in a modern way.
See, if I had one, I like the idea of customizing it, doing all these things. So waiting for the new model with like maybe new lighting and some new appearance isn't really that much big deal to me, because I think I would change it all anyway. So
it's a new Wrangler. It's pretty awesome. Full story is on autoblog.com. Of course, we're going to have updates. If you haven't seen these pictures yet, you got to check it out. It's a new Wrangler. Moving things along, though, there were other things besides the Wrangler at SEMA. Just some, SEMA stuff, custom cars, crazy stuff. All the stuff we've known and we love about going to this great car show out there. A couple of the standouts. I really like the $200,000 FJ from the FJ company. This is called the Signature Edition, or just the Signature version, and it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I've been following the FJ company for quite a while now. And like Icon, like some of the other upfitters, they really do restored versions of like the old FJ40 and the old Toyota FJs. They offer a wide range of cars. Their base classic model starts at about $85,000, which is not cheap. Right. But it's all modern running gear. I mean, it's an old inline six, but it's all been updated and clean, and it's pretty much a brand new FJ. Now this new Signature model is, like you said, starts at $200,000, which is a lot. But if you look at the photos on the site, if you look at the video, some of the details on it, I mean, like the stitching on the leather, like this has got like an iPad in the center console for the full infotainment system, LED lighting all the way around. I mean, it's not just a restored FJ40. I mean, it's heavily updated, heavily modified. This new one's got the V6, the 4-liter V6 that's in the current Toyota 4Runner. It's got the brakes from a 4Runner. I mean, there's some really like modern hardware under here. So yes, it's an FJ, but it's not like any other FJ.
It's pretty cool looking. This is another one that, you're a hardcore enthusiast. If you love these sort of like, not so recent past, off-roaders, you want that look, but, you want all of, essentially a 4Runner under the skin. This is a really cool thing. It's not cheap. I think if it were my money, I'd probably just go with the classic model, which, is around $85,000. Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't pay this much for this vehicle, as awesome as it looks.
No, I kind of agree. I would if I had $200,000 to spend, I might think differently, but yeah, I'd want to take this off-road. I'd want to be able to beat it up a little.
Yeah.
But I encourage all of you to go to the site, click through to the FJ Company site. There's a builder on there where you can go on and customize your own, and you can lose a lot of time. I think this kind of got away from us in our group chat, people just building custom ones yesterday. So go on. There's a lot of little neat stuff you can do. It's a lot of fun, really cool stuff.
I think after this podcast, I'm going to go spec out one of these and just see how much. I say I'd take the cheap one, but I'm sure the one I would actually spec out would be $190,000.
Well, it's the little things. You're like, well, I guess I do want the LED headlights are only this much, or, well, the better tires are only this.
Of course.
It spirals.
Next thing you know, it's you're paying as much as for a pretty nice ranch or something,
Right.
But, cool stuff at SEMA, a little more modern slightly. We've got some pretty cool Colorado ZR2s. Chevy has done a really good job of bringing the Colorado to SEMA and making it, accessible and making a lot of the parts accessible to enthusiasts, off-road types. A couple of really cool ones. We had an AEV one, which, you know, what AEV does is cool. With all the Jeeps, they're awesome. They do some really fun stuff. And this is, I think it's their first time they've taken a swing at the Colorado. It's definitely tuned for doing anything you could possibly want for overlanding, and most of all, it looks pretty sweet.
Yeah, I don't know of anything AEV has done that wasn't Mopar. I know they do a few Rams. I know they're heavy into the Wranglers, but
yeah,
I saw this a few weeks ago at a backgrounder, and I was like, oh, cool, AEV is doing Chevys now. But as you guys can see in the video, if you go to the site, like, this thing's awesome. It's really cool shade of brown, but like every little bit of it's been touched. The interior, the exterior. I mean, there's probably more than $100,000 worth of add-ons to this thing, but it's the diesel, so it's got a big snorkel. It's really made for overlanding. There's a refrigerator in the back. One of the cool things is if you look at the right at the side of the bed in the back, there's hookups for air and water and switches for the lights, all on the outside. It looks really, really cool, but with the lifted suspension, the wider fender flares, the beadlock wheels, yeah, it looks pretty awesome. I hope that AEV will offer these parts to the public, because I believe that there's probably a lot of Colorado owners out there that are like, I want to do that to my car.
Snorkel, NATO gas cans, 2.8 liter diesel under the hood. This thing is sweet. I think the next time we need to do some sort of adventure video, this might be the truck we want to try to dial in. It's capable, it's impressive looking. You know, there's a lot of functionality here though. It's not like it's just crazy. So I'm excited. This would be a fun one for them to, you know, perhaps drop into the press fleet for a little bit.
Yeah, we'd love to get one in.
Another very cool ZR2. This is more of a Baja Racer look, pretty sweet looking. 1.5-inch lift kit, retuned suspension and exhaust, some infotainment gizmos. That's also pretty cool looking as well. Another good, one of many Colorados that Chevy and some of the tuners have rolled out for SEMA.
Yeah, the race development truck is pretty cool. It's still based on the ZR2, but where the AEV truck had the diesel, this one has got the 3.6 liter V6. In my head, I was kind of thinking it as a Chevy Raptor. I mean, it's made for desert running. It's made for going fast, like on the dirt. There's a lot of skid plates in the rear to help the suspension, help the rear diff. A lot of like cool stuff in there. And we know the Ford Ranger Raptor is coming. I mean, there's a global one coming next year.
Very little doubt.
We presume that truck will make it here, so I'm really hoping Chevy kind of beats Ford to the punch with something, some variant of the ZR2 that's very, very similar.
Yeah, I'm excited that, you know, there seems to be such an appetite for these, you know, really capable off-road trucks that are somewhat affordable. You know, they're in a, like, I'd say that window where, like, if you're an enthusiast that, you know, wants to budget some money for these things, you know, it's sort of like the top end TRD Tacoma. You know, if you want to save some money, you can certainly get one of those.
Yeah, I'm really happy that like Chevy's not only jumped back into the mid-sized truck segment, but like jumped back to like all in.
Yeah.
The Colorado, when it came out a couple of years ago, was great, and now the ZR2 is a really, really phenomenal and special truck. And I mean, the Tacoma kind of had the segment to itself. I mean, yes, the Frontier was there, but the Frontier hasn't been a player for probably 5 years. And then the Colorado comes out, and it kind of whips on the Tacoma. And I like the Tacoma TRD Pro, but I think I would still take a ZR2 over it.
One other cool car here from SEMA, Hot Wheels Camaro. They do this almost every year, either at SEMA or at, you know, I've seen this at the Detroit Auto Show too. Cool looking car. I mean, I think it's, they're throwing this at like the kid, the enthusiast, and all of us. I was there a few years ago when they actually rolled out the first one. This was probably 6 or 7 years. And it was just like, it was one of the most popular cars at the show, even though it was fairly like, I mean, there wasn't much to it. It was more like paint and some stuff like that, but it's such a fun, you know, thing that really appeals to, you know, the kid and all of us.
So I saw this the Hot Wheels cars as well, the Chevy backgrounder. And of all the Hot Wheels edition Camaros, I think this one might be my favorite. I'm a big fan of orange. One of my favorite cars is the 69 Camaro in Hugger orange, and this orange paint kind of reminds me of that. I think the wheels are a little better done. Some of the Hot Wheels look a little too much like Hot Wheels, and a little cartoonish on the street in like full-size proportions, but I think this really works. The cool thing for this year is it's the 50th anniversary of Hot Wheels, and the first Hot Wheels car ever was a Camaro. So that's a neat little fact. And they're doing a Hot Wheels Copo Camaro, which I think is the best looking one out there because with the big proportions of the hood and the drag radials, not drag radials, it's pure drag slicks. It really looks just like a full-blown Hot Wheels car. It's pretty sweet.
I think Chevy has really done a good job of sort of capturing that true just enthusiast element at SEMA. Like everything they do there is a lot of fun. It has a purpose to it as well. A couple years ago they did, I think it was a Silverado dressed up like in battleship, like camouflage, like something you would see floating like in the North Sea. They called it like this Dazzle livery. And I think it's the same, sort of tactic they use with things like the Hot Wheels Camaro. They're having fun. You can tell their designers and their engineers are really enjoying events like SEMA. They look at this as a way to connect with, their core, passionate fan base. And, you really see that, in cars like, this Hot Wheels. It's really cool. And to me, it's such a natural partnership, Chevy and Hot Wheels in a Camaro.
Yeah, for years, SEMA was just kind of like these overdone show cars that had tons of fiberglass and like metallic paints, and it wasn't really like anything I was super interested in. And then the manufacturers started showing up and bringing out like real concepts and real cars. Chevy at their booth this year has got every one of their crate motors lined up. And that's a huge lineup. And we didn't even talk about some of the other trucks. They've got 2018 is the 100th anniversary of Chevy trucks, so there's some centennial editions of the Colorado and the Silverado. There's a 67 Chevy C10 with a cool crate motor. They're bringing out a new Silverado with the 5.3 liter V8, but it's got the supercharger from the Corvette LT4. Chevy's done a lot of cool stuff at the show this year. I go to the site, we've covered all of it. Some real neat stuff from Chevy this year.
Yeah, I think SEMA is really strong. I think it's a bit of I'd say a comeback from recent years when the economy was not great, and car companies didn't have the money to necessarily, spend on SEMA. It was like a frivolous thing, something they didn't necessarily, want to put a lot of effort into, and it's a good time to be an enthusiast now.
Yeah, so good stuff at SEMA, but what's up next?
Yeah, I think it's, again, good show at SEMA, but I think what we're going to do is transition to the fleet.
Yeah, so we have been driving some pretty cool stuff this past week. We've had a Jeep Grand Cherokee Trackhawk, which I think we've all been really looking forward to. It's a Hellcat powered Grand Cherokee.
Yeah, 707 horsepower. We did a live drive. We hope you saw that on Facebook. Really cool car. It's a lot of fun. It sounds good. It's capable. It's inside, this one was done up in kind of like a maroon, if I remember right. I wasn't quite sure what to make of that, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, after this, I think I've driven every Hellcat and variant there is now, because I was lucky enough a few weeks ago to go drive the Demon, and it's this one with all-wheel drive. It's quicker than anything but the Demon.
3.5 seconds to 60, right? I think.
Yeah,
180 mile an hour top speed.
It's ridiculous. People have been clamoring for this since the Hellcat came out. I think the only one people want more is probably a Hellcat-powered Wrangler, but I think that might break the car.
Yeah.
We can see with this new model, so I'm sure we will see another Easter Safari concept with the new Wrangler and a Hellcat engine, because you can now get a Hellcat crate motor. But yeah, going back to the Grand Cherokee, it's got all the things we know and love about the Grand Cherokee. It's handsome, it's spacious, the interior's pretty well pointed. I actually like the color of the interior.
Okay.
But I'm kind of a fan of maroon and red leather. But yeah, on the outside, it's this nice, like, dark color. It's pretty conservative. I mean, until you fire up the engine, and then it kind of gives everything away.
I really enjoyed it. It's I was excited to to run around with it and like just listen to how strong the engine was and how like visceral it is, just to experience it, and we've heard about this vehicle for such a long time that now that it's like, hey, the Trackhawk is here, the Hellcat Grand Cherokee, I think it really lived up to what I was hoping for.
Yeah, I was pretty excited to see this. But yeah, it's been good stuff this week. It's been another FCA week. We've kind of been driving a lot of trucks, and now we've got the 2018 Ram 1500 Laramie Longhorn South Fork. Let's see if I can get all that right.
South Fork Edition, I think.
Yeah.
Something, yeah. It's pretty awesome, though.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Ram a lot, but the South Fork package is maybe a little much for me.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of details. If you look at the rear seat pockets, there's like belt buckles on there. There's some like barbed wire kind of trim around the gauge cluster. It's a little tacky, if you ask me. So
I didn't actually get in the back seat and see these belt buckles that apparently are inhabiting it, but yeah, it's a fun truck. It's got the 5.7 liter Hemi V8. It's got these crazy like shiny wheels. It's like all Rams, it's just totally ripped. Like when you see a Ram sitting at the curb, to me, it's the most distinctive of the Detroit 3 trucks. It really stands out. And the Silverado and the F-150 are excellent trucks too. This is, it's just how I feel. When I look at the Ram, I'm like, that thing is just like, a medium rare steak. It's especially a South Fork edition is like a medium rare steak. It sounds like a kind of steer or something. I don't know. It's, but yeah, it was a cool one to have through. It's certainly, adds a lot of, good stuff inside and out, makes it dressier, makes it a little more, leathery, if you will. If it were my money, I don't think I'd probably get this edition. To your point, it's a little tacky, but still a fun truck.
Yeah, let me be clear. Like, I love the Ram. I just don't think I would get the South Fork package. I don't have that many cowboy aspirations, so it's really not for me.
No cowboy aspirations? Okay.
But there's, with Ram especially, there's a flavor for everybody. If you want something sporty, they make the Sport Edition with like the black headlights and the body colored bumpers. If you want the cowboy stuff, they make the Longhorn. If you want something a little more like bare bones, you can get a Tradesman. Actually, fun fact, Joel and I were looking a couple weeks ago. The cheapest way to get a new vehicle with a V8 is the Ram Tradesman with a 5.7 liter Hemi.
That's really interesting. I didn't know that. So that's like the low 20s probably?
Yeah, it's like it's like 25, 26 or something like that. I haven't looked again, but it undercuts like the Mustang, the Camaro, and pretty much anything else that has a V8. So you want a V8, buy the Ram Tradesman. But yeah, I think it's, like to your point, the Ram's still the most distinctive looking. Even though it is the oldest, I like some of the interior stuff. I like Uconnect a lot. Yeah, every time we get one, I always want to take it home. The Hemi is awesome. I like the Eco Diesel, but I think I would still go with the Hemi.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just a really good, solid truck.
Strong truck. It's, yeah, it's fun. I'm definitely glad, you had that come through the fleet. It's like the perfect vehicle for when the weather starts to get a little cold. This thing had auto start on it. The seat heaters were great. You sink into those South Fork seats, if that's what they're called. I don't know. But it was so comfortable. It was good to like just see over everybody in congestion. Obviously, I just like driving pickup trucks, but this is a really good one, obviously.
Yeah. I don't know if the seats are specific to the South Fork, and the material is fine. It's just the details are a little off for me. But, wouldn't be my addition, but I think I'd still go with the Ram if I was going full-size truck.
So that brings us to our next segment here. Question of the week. You've got to pick one full-size truck. We've talked about the Ram. Which one would it be, though? You've got Ford, you've got Chevy. I mean, you could look at the Toyota Tundra or the Nissan Titan, but what's it going to be?
Let's just keep it to the big three because I don't think the Titan's fine. The Tundra is fine, but the Tundra is ancient at this point. It's maybe if you get a good deal on one, you just want a truck, go buy one. But if it was my money, I still think I'd go with the Ram. I like the F-150. I drove the refreshed 2018 one with the new engines and the new transmission. But I still think my money would be on the Ram. I think it looks better than the other ones. I like the interior. I like the infotainment better. Yeah, I think I'd still go with the Ram. The other two are good, but it's Ram for me.
It's the oldest, but I still think it's the best, actually. It's the most well-rounded. It's the most, I think it really stands out in the segment in the way that the other two don't. In some ways, I think the Silverado and the F-150 are actually a lot alike in that they're excellent in everything they do. And to be clear, you can't go wrong in this segment. All three of these Detroit trucks are excellent. They're capable, they look good, they offer all kinds of different options inside and out. But yeah, for me, short answer, it would totally be Ram. It's hard to, as far as just basing on what I'm most excited to drive, and there's a bunch of different metrics and they excel in all different areas. But yeah, for me, it's totally Ram.
Yeah, you go drive all three. I mean, it comes down to details on them. Like maybe you can get a better deal because there's always incentives on trucks, on a Chevy or a Ford. So, and those aren't, I mean, they're not bad. There's not a bad truck among them.
Yeah.
But it'd be Ram for me. And honestly, like if I was buying full size, I had the money, I'd step up to the Ram 2500 and get the Power Wagon.
The Power Wagon's pretty great.
Might be my favorite truck on the road right now. I love the Colorado ZR2. I love the Raptor. But there's something about the Power Wagon with that 6.4 liter Hemi. I mean, we had one a few months ago. It was dark gray, just lifted.
Yeah.
Awesome. I cruised around with my dog in the back. She was sticking her head out the window.
Yeah.
I had her buckled down, strapped down, so I'm a responsible pet owner. But yeah, it was just cool. It was just fun.
If you're a fan of the podcast, I love the Power Wagon. And I've been on a bit of a truck kick the last few months, going from like mid-size, talking about how good the Colorado is and how I could drive that truck every day. I could own it. But then it's like, yeah, you get into a full-size one and you're like, oh, geez, yeah, I could really go with like a Ram 1500. I need a full-size truck. And then you like drive the Power Wagon and it's just like, oh, I don't need this, but this is awesome. Why wouldn't I want the Power Wagon? So,
yeah, that's kind of my thing. I'd either get Colorado ZR2 or like way jump up and get the Power Wagon. I don't think there's much in between for me.
Question of the week, answer is Ram. However you slice it or take your flavor of Ram, I think we actually agree on this one. So, question of the week, short answer is Ram. Moving things along though, we, for some of you who are like really into binge watching a variety of things, the Stranger Things is now out. Are you a fan of the show, Reese?
Yeah, I have only caught a bit of the second season, but I was really into the first one. It was kind of a surprise thing last year on Netflix. Nobody really expected it. And it came out and it was just this cool like 80s vibe. And it really like everybody in it, from like the clothing to the cars, really felt genuine. And there's a lot of cool stuff that's seen either from the main characters or just even in the background from this new second season.
So what is your favorite car in this show?
There's a lot of cool stuff, and I will concede that there are arguably some better and faster stuff, but the K5 Blazer.
It's pretty sweet. It's pretty sweet.
If I'm gonna that is for me like the best looking Blazer. I had some family members that own them. You pop the top off like the old Broncos. Like it's so awesome. It's got Chevy engines, so you've got like big lumpy V8. I don't know. It's just awesome. It's a lot of fun. They look cool. I'd love to find one, and it wouldn't even have to be in perfect condition. Just clean enough to not have any rust holes, but still want to take it off road a little.
They are sweet. I've got to go in a different direction. We'll keep it in the General Motors family. I love, there's a Gen 2 Camaro in there. It's like a 78, 79. I think there's a little bit of a discrepancy. Some people online were trying to figure out exactly what year it was. Late 70s, maybe early 80s, that sort of span. It's a cool car. One of the main protagonists drives it. It kind of fits that whole sort of like 1980s rebel without a cause kind of vibe, I think. And that actually is my favorite generation of Camaro, is the Gen 2 Camaros. I just love that like jet look. I mean, my favorite would not be the 78. My favorite would be the 70, but it's a good looking body style, I think.
Yeah, I like second gen Camaros, but I really only like the first gen, or the early ones. Like 70 Z28 would be really awesome. I mean, this one's cool, but it had just that lethargic V8, and that kind of like, that kind of kills it. If it was an early second gen Camaro, I think it might have swayed me over the K5 Blazer, but I'm gonna have to disagree with you on this one.
It's you're disagreeing with Billy Hargrove. He's the main character. I don't know. That seems like a dangerous proposition, but yeah, I mean, to your point, it's not the greatest Camaro ever. Let's put it that way. Lots of cool cars in this show. If you're into like sort of like early 80s Americana, it's probably for like a slightly younger generation what Mad Men was for like all of that 1960s vibe. Basically every car in that show, it was all eye candy. Everything was cool. Just looking at some of the background shots of cars, there's a 72 Cutlass in there, which is awesome. Love that car. There's a 74 Malibu, which my dad still has a 73 Chevelle, so a Malibu, in fact. So just really cool cars. If you're into like, that late 70s, early 80s, just like kind of random, almost between Gen X and Gen Y, that's right where this show hits. And of course, the cars match it. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's always good to see these like period shows when they like take the time to like make sure every little detail fits. And they did that with the clothes, they did that with the music, and they did that with the cars. It's
interesting too, because I think, the 80s into the early 90s, it was almost like one of the last time periods where you still saw really old cars on the road. Like now, you don't see cars necessarily from the 90s rolling around all that much, which if, you subtract 20 years, you would see like a 67 or something, Oldsmobile or whatnot. It wasn't as uncommon in the early 80s as, say, a 99 Oldsmobile or whatnot would be now. Oldsmobile may be a bad example because they killed the car brand, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah. I feel like people drove cars longer. There was that, they kept their cars longer, they worked on their cars. It was just a little bit of a different time, different, model in car ownership, even though cars are safer, more reliable, and it's probably a better idea to keep them longer now than it was 15, 20 years ago. But Stranger Things, it's a cool show. If you're a Netflix subscriber, check it out. It's not an endorsement, but half the staff seems to love it. I am not actually really into it yet. It's kind of creepy, right? So it sits into the Halloween theme. Yeah, if you're into 80s cars, though, 70s and 80s cars, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, watch the show.
And if you're not into 70s and 80s cars, maybe you're writing us for Spend My Money. You want to buy a new car, which is probably a good thing to do because you need a new car. We can help you out with our car finder. Check that out. It's definitely can help you narrow down your choices. If you've been listening to the podcast, this is actually an update. Going back to episode 526, listener was basically leading toward a CX-5. We helped him out a little bit. We gave him a bunch of different choices: Tiguan, Disco Sport, Outlander, Nissan Rogue. He kind of went back and forth. He talked to his wife. They talked about their different needs. And the way it stands right now is he has a CX-5 he has a Tiguan on order, which I think we recommended. Pretty good move. It's a well-rounded vehicle. And so it's on order. But he's like, unless I get tempted again by a CX-5 or a diesel CX-5. So I feel like he's kind of wanting us to reinforce his decision. I'm okay with the Tiguan, especially if you've ordered it. I think you should probably go through with it.
Yeah, I like the Tiguan as well. And like you said in your email, like your wife is kind of on the third row kick now, and you're not going to get that with the CX-5. I like the Mazda, and I like the way it drives, but as a like whole vehicle, and if you're not really into the dynamics as much, I think the Tiguan's actually a better choice. It's got a better infotainment system. I think it's got actually a better interior. You're not going to get the diesel, so if you really want the diesel and the fuel economy with that, wait for the CX-5, but I think you made a good choice with the Tiguan.
Yeah, we'll give you a little positive affirmation and just, yeah, I think that's probably the right move, especially in the set of cars you're looking at. If you wanted to throw it wide open and look at a bunch of different choices, you know, we could give those to you, but I don't think that's what you want to do. And frankly, I think the Tiguan is the most reasonable choice of this competitive set you've offered. Like, you know, a Disco Sport, you know, you're talking about a wide different price range. The Rogue, the Outlander, you had some, you know, raised some pretty good concerns about both of those. So yeah, man, stick with it. Best of luck to you, and hope it works out. If you still have second thoughts and, you know, they delay your Tiguan, well then, you know, write us back and maybe we can really start to play at your conscience. But I think now you're in a good place. So thanks for writing in. We appreciate it. And thanks to the rest of you for listening and watching this episode 532 of the Autoblog podcast. It's been fun talking about all sorts of things, whether they were stranger or perhaps a little bit normal, if you will. I don't know. But we've enjoyed being here with you today. He's Reese. I'm Greg. Thanks for watching.